Moving to West Ham, Pete. Brian Broby has been a key option potentially for West Ham late on in this window. We know that they want to bring in a striker, potentially on loan if they can get it done. Can they make this deal come to fruition?
Yeah, he's probably been about the 20th striker linked to West Ham in this window. We all know of their urgent need to bring in that striker. Paul mentioned it with the injuries to Fulkrug, Mikel Antonio. Broby, obviously at Ajax right now as well. I think there is interest from West Ham. Obviously, the Hammers would prefer a loan deal rather than a permanent deal, while Ajax would prefer to sell the young Dutchman rather than loan him. He's got just over 18 months left on his contract at Ajax, so obviously the Dutch club would prefer to sell him rather than loan him out to a rival as well. The other concerning thing for me would be his form. It's not been great in the first half of the season at Ajax. He's only got 3 goals in 29 games, and sometimes he's finding himself out of the team in favour of former Burnley and Manchester United striker Wout Weghorst. So that would have a few red flags for me if West Ham were looking somebody to come in and hit the ground running and score goals for them. He's not playing regularly for Ajax, so although he's one of the names on the list at West Ham, I think they're just evaluating all potential targets. As you said, they were in for John Duran at the start of the window. Evan Ferguson, somebody that they're interested in. Andre Silva at RB Leipzig's another name as well. So look, West Ham are trying their best to bring in a new striker, and it just seems Broby is a name that's on their list. But as I said, the deal right now probably stalling just because Ajax would prefer a permanent move and West Ham would prefer a loan. So a bit of a stalemate at the minute, but he's definitely somebody who's on that long list of strikers that the club are looking at.
Where does that leave the Andre Silva deal, Pete? Because the Andre Silva from Leipzig, because we know that they were talking to them. I mean, he's a decent player who's out of favour. I think out of the strikers that Leipzig have got, he's probably the only one that they would consider letting go. I don't believe for 1 minute that West Ham were ready to meet the valuation what Villa had for John Duran. I think that was Villa just putting good PR transfer bids out there, but had no real chance of hitting the spot. But Andre Silva was one that we thought was going to be close, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought he'd be the most realistic option for West Ham, out of favour at Leipzig and a proven international player as well. But my understanding is that sort of this deal has collapsed, and I think Graham Potter maybe not overly keen on doing it. It does seem Potter has a lot of influence right now on transfer signings at West Ham, when previously it was the sporting director who had the major say on what West Ham were doing. But yeah, look, Graham Potter's been offered so many strikers in this January transfer window. He's obviously going through them all, and it does seem that maybe that interest in Silva has cooled, and they're now looking at other targets like Ferguson, Broby's, and others. I do think Ferguson probably is the number one target for West Ham because Graham Potter has worked with him before at Brighton, and I'm sure it's something that maybe he would like to be reunited with the Irishman at the London Stadium if West Ham can agree a loan deal with Brighton.
I wouldn't be surprised if they brought two, and I really wouldn't if they can bring one in on loan and one in on a permanent. They've got that many injuries in that area, and long-term injuries. Danny Ings is the only fit striker, as we know. Really wouldn't be surprised if West Ham were able to do a loan and another permanent if they got two in that position before the end of the window.
Yeah, it'd be a big boost to Graham Potter if they get two strikers in, because Paquetà's playing up there at the minute. Although he's done all right, that's not his preferred position. The only problem I have, Paul, with that is that I'm not sure West Ham have got the funds to do a permanent deal. They'll probably be looking at two loans if they were to make signings in January. But I do expect them to be one of the busier clubs between now and the end of the window.
And Paul, the Marcus Rashford links actually haven't even gone away quite yet. Manchester United haven't been able to find a new home for him or a solution for him this window. Could we potentially see this signing happen on deadline day for West Ham if Marcus Rashford still doesn't have a new club come February 3rd?
Said to you a couple of weeks ago, that's the only way that this transfer could happen. That will tell us what the relationship's like between Ruben Amorim and Marcus Rashford. If it's broken down, if it's beyond repair, his career at Manchester United. If he ends up going to West Ham, it will be a deadline day move. No disrespect, but he'll be looking abroad. We know that he's tested the water. He's put his foot in the water, and the water's not really given him the answers that he wanted, has it? Hence the reason that he's still at Manchester United, and he's come out saying that he's training hard, he's getting his head down, and he's working hard, to get back into the team, or working hard for Manchester United. But surely that's a given. You should be doing that anyway. Anyway, that's by the by. But for West Ham, if it could work if his relationship, we don't know, we're not privy to the information what's gone on behind the scenes at Old Trafford. But I think it was the 12th of December was Marcus Rashford's last game for Manchester United in the Europa League, and he's not been in the squad. He's not played since then. So you would suspect that relationship with him and the manager is irreparable. The manager stuck his flag in the ground. He's made his stance. and to Marcus Rashford's expense, it's it's not looking good for him. Listen, I'm in Romania now. I was at Ruben Amorim's press conference last night, and the journalists in the press conference were trying to get information out of Amorim. They were hammering him with Marcus Rashford questions. He's not in the squad. Why isn't he here? What's his future? What's this? What's that? And he flatly refused to answer any question. But then right at the end of the press conference, he just gave, I don't know if you've seen it, you have to have a look at it if you've seen it, if you've not seen it. He gave the journalists what they were looking for. He turned around and said, look, we need pace, we need aggression, we need pace and power and goals in the forward areas. Basically, he described Marcus Rashford as everything that they need, but he refused to talk about it in the whole press conference. If he's stuck with Marcus Rashford between now and the end of the season, and the relationship between the two of them is repairable, then he's stupid not to use him between now and the end of the year. If he doesn't want to move, if he can't move him on, because he's a player, and if his attitude and application's right, he's a player that will improve Manchester United. You can't tell me that he's not better than Xerxes. You can't tell me that he's not better than Højlund. Granted, he's not a number 10. He's not, he's not one of the wing backs. He's not really a number 9. He plays in the wider areas, but actually he's better than what they've got. So if the relationship between him and the manager will back down if that is the case, accept him back into your squad when the window's closed. But back to my original point, if we get to deadline day and that relationship is fractured beyond repair, that's when you could see a West Ham move happen.
Rashford's not better than the goalkeeping coach, according to Ruben Amorim. So maybe West Ham could make a move for the 63-year-old in the January window just to shock us all.
That in itself would suggest that the relationship is broken beyond repair, wouldn't it, between manager and player?
Yeah, it's finished. I don't see any way back for Marcus Rashford under Ruben Amorim. As you said, he's put his flag in the sand, and he has said that obviously Rashford, unless he really bucks up his ideas, won't be part of his future plans at Old Trafford. So yeah, I think for the best for everyone that Rashford does move on before Monday's deadline. Otherwise, he's just going to be sat rotting in the reserves, not playing.
But I think from Marcus Rashford's point of view, he sees himself at Manchester United as the England international. He wants to get back in that England squad with Thomas Tuchel. He's been linked to the likes of Bayern Munich, Barcelona, whatever other club you want to link, AC Milan around Europe. I think that Marcus Rashford may think he's better than West Ham. This is no disrespect, but actually looking at the Premier League, he's got to go out and he's got to play and he's got to prove himself all over again. I don't think it'd be a bad move for him going to play week in and week out and show him what he can do. But actually, I don't know whether Marcus Rashford looks at West Ham and thinks, I'm better than that.
Well, only 2 points between Manchester United and West Ham on the table right now. Pete, last night, West Ham maybe made a late bid for Ricardo Pepi, who's the 22-year-old American, still has 3.5 years left on his contract, and that was rejected. Do you think they'll go back for one more bid, maybe to bring him in on a loan option with a buy? Yeah,
obviously they've gone in there and tried their luck with their opening offer, which was rejected out of hand by PSV. I don't see PSV being willing to sell Ricardo Pepi, or definitely not loan him out either, because he's a key man in their side still. I think he really showed what he can offer when he got that goal and assist in the win against Liverpool in the Champions League in midweek. PSV have qualified for the playoffs of the Champions League as well, so I don't imagine they would want to weaken their squad. So I think although West Ham have shown a bit of interest in the USA international, I don't see it going any further. PSV are in no real need to sell the player as well. As you said, he's under a long contract until 2028. They don't need to really sell any of their prized assets, which obviously Pepi is. And as again, I think the player himself, I think probably come the summer, if he continues what he's doing right now at PSV, I think there'll be a lot of clubs, not just West Ham, who are interested in Ricardo Pepi's 22-year-old player. I think he's only going to get better and better. He's got Champions League experience under his belt this season as well. I think there'll be a lot of big Premier League clubs who'll be keeping tabs on him and to seeing if maybe he could make the move to England from the summer onwards. And look, he's got 18 goals and 3 assists in 29 games this season, and that's not always been as a starter, because he's got Luke de Jong ahead of him in the pecking order in that PSV team as well. So he knows where the back of the net is. I can see why West Ham showed some interest in him, but I just don't see PSV being willing to sell him so late in the window, and with Champions League football to look forward to next month for the Dutch club. Why would they want to sell one of their best players?